Welcome to a tour of the perimeter of the Incarnation campus. As we move north along Mendocino Avenue frontage, you'll see our wooden monument sign welcoming all. The sign was originally built in 1996 and rebuilt in 2021. The Mackey Frame Shop building is owned by the Church of the Incarnation, deeded to the church in 2015 by Shirley Hutchinson. One of her wishes upon bequeathing the property was that we maintain tenancy for Mackey Frame until the owner's retirement. Between Mackey Frame and the neighboring apartment building, you can see the distinct roofline of Farlander in the background. Continuing north on Mendocino, we come to the Heavenly Treasures thrift shop. Previously Carrington Real Estate, the church purchased the building in 1998, the first acquisition of property along the Mendocino frontage by the church in nearly a century. The building was purchased to support the living room, at the time a ministry of the church. Heavenly Treasures has continued to provide funding to outreach programs of the church, including Open Table, the St. Andrew's Mission, and the Burbank School programs. At the corner of Mendocino and Cherry Streets, we come to what's appropriately referred to as the corner lot. This lot was once home to a gas station and was purchased by the church in 2006 with the intent to provide overflow parking for the church, to provide convenient parking for Heavenly Treasures, but also with the intent to make sure the site was properly cared for after the state cleaned up an underground storage tank from the gas station that had been leaking. From 2009 to 2012, Incarnation's vestry oversaw the remediation of the tank, which was paid for by the state and permanently declared free of contaminants. During this period of acquisition, our rectors and vestry leaders often joked about completing our monopoly board, as we steadily acquired the neighboring properties on the avenue to augment the original church property purchased in 1871 and the property that housed the rectory and parish hall in 1904. As we proceed east along Cherry Street, we see the missing piece of the monopoly board, the apartment complex bounded by the three Mendocino parcels, the church, and Farlander Hall. As we continue east, we see the back entrance to Farlander Hall, where trash is collected after services and taken out by volunteers each Tuesday. The small windows you see belong to the hospitality and open table storage room. Peeking through the fence, you will see our garden and the French doors to the library beyond. As we continue east, things may start to look more familiar to many congregants, as we pass one of the four main gates into the church campus and see through the windows into the music room. This part of our church campus is in the Cherry Street Historic District, so despite the fact that our church building is almost 100 years older than the quadrangle, it is the quadrangle that has historic protection by the city. You'll see the windows for staff and ministry offices now. This driveway will be familiar to most parishioners, as it's the entrance to our parking lot, discreetly located behind the rest of the church campus and quite far away from the church itself. This land once housed a Victorian mansion. The property was bought by the church in 1929, and that mansion was torn down as part of the development of the quadrangle, but the garage was preserved. The redwood, oak, and palm trees were also preserved during construction of the quadrangle and parking lot to maintain the beauty of the land. Here in the back corner of the parking lot is the youth room. This used to be the garage for the Victorian mansion that was torn down. You can still see the hardware on the pair of garage door panels. This garage was renovated by the dads of Incarnation's youth program, installing windows, lighting, and doors. The interior was then furnished by the moms to provide the lovely space we have now. The children's playground was built in the early 2000s, with the purchase of the structure partially funded by an Episcopal grant through the living room, and labor for construction by the dads of Incarnation. The play structure gets frequent use. Here we come to the storage container once used by the living room. Through the gate, we come to further long-term storage. A second container in this yard contains supplies that the youth group used on a decade of mission trips to Mexico. Many may be surprised that if we head further south, we come to the Riley Street Gate, which provides through access to Riley Street, which can be very useful for maintenance and general access to the back of the church. Adjacent to the playground is the children's lawn. It is the site of monthly children's formation lunches and is a great play spot for kids coming out of the nursery on sunny days. The children also often snack on mandarins, oranges, or apples from the productive trees. There are several very productive pomegranate trees as well. Here, you can see the gate between the breezeway and the children's lawn, which we used as an exit from outdoor worship. When the organ was built in 1997, the church was extended to allow space for the many organ pipes. An access hatch was put in for maintenance. As we head around to the southern side of the church, we come to the back entrance to the sacristy. Adjacent to the sacristy is one of two palms from which we cut fronds for Palm Sundays. Many congregants may have had their first experience seeing the children's lawn in 2020, when we used the lawn as the first waypoint to regathering. We hosted monthly services on this lawn. The diffuse nature of our church campus allowed us to have outdoor worship at a time when few other churches in our diocese were offering in-person worship. Perhaps one of the many silver linings of the pandemic was that we got to use and see more of our campus than had been routinely utilized in a decade or more. The basketball court you see now sits within the footprint of the old rectory, which extended beyond this fence line. The parish hall sat here, to the southwest of the rectory and due south of the church. In 2022, Incarnation commissioned a temporary work of public art by Mario Uribe. 8 windows, filled with acrylic stained glass discs, contained personal messages written by parishioners and members of the public. The piece of art was titled Windows at Incarnation. The Jerusalem courtyard was built as a landing for the accessible ramp. Its namesake is a brick inlaid Jerusalem cross. Worship services are sometimes performed here, such as a rallying point for the procession around the church on Palm Sunday and for the Great Vigil of Easter. As we return to Mendocino Avenue, we're back where we started, at the front of our 149-year-old church. Thank you for watching this tour of Incarnation's perimeter. We hope it helped to better inform you of our buildings and grounds.